The Conjuring 2 stars Vera Farmiga, Patrick Wilson, and is directed by James Wan. Okay guys, before I get into this review, I just want to warn you there's going to be some spoiler talk at the very end. But if you haven't seen the movie, you're fine up until the rating, then you are dismissed. Well guys, 2016 is definitely the return of horror. There are just so many good horror movies coming out this year. Conjuring 2 was one of them. This was a fun horror movie. And what's cool about the Conjuring series is they are based on true stories. And this is a true story. This is about the Enfield poltergeist, the Hodgson family from 1977 in the UK. And one of the children, Janet, she is playing with a Ouija board, and then she kind of resurrects this haunting in this house. And the entity is this old man who died in this chair in this corner. He is kind of stuck in this small apartment, and he's not happy, and he's constantly just, you know, really torturing this family. You got furniture moving all over the place, you got levitations, and the demon is even speaking through her with these really gruff voices. And I believe there are actual recordings from the case that are used in this movie, which is interesting.
This is my home. Get out now.
No, this is not your house. Now, what's your name?
My name is Bill Wilkins, and I'm 72 years old.
What's cool about this movie is it picks up at the Amityville case with the Warrens, and this was really the last case that Lorraine Warren wanted to do, because you can imagine the emotional toll that, you know, this line of work will put on a person, especially like Lorraine Warren. And then later in the movie, they hear about the Enfield poltergeist. They are really summoned to go and just kind of act as an advisor. And really, they don't even show up in England until, you know, the second half of the movie. Now, one thing that's always cool about these true stories is it's fun to watch the movie and then go and research the real case after. I always get a kick out of that, and I did that with this one. And you know what, for a Hollywood story, a lot of this stuff actually really did happen. There are some liberties that are taken, especially in the third act of the movie. I mean, there are scenes in this movie where you're gonna go, I know there's no way in hell that happened, but you know, Hollywood movies are gonna take poetic license to entertain the audience, because that's really what movies are about at the end of the day. It's about entertaining the audience. Okay, so now let's talk about the movie, the filmmaking. James Wan is today's best horror director. I'm saying that now. He really knows all the tricks. Now there are some tricks that we've seen before from Hitchcock and Carpenter and Wes Craven. You know, he uses that old tried and true horror playbook. Why wouldn't you? A good example of that is there are scenes where you have a wide angle and you'll see various spots in the frame where you'll be looking. There'll be like 4 or 5 different spots. Something bad could happen there, something bad could happen there. You know, and then, oh, boom, it just happens right here. That is good horror filmmaking. Lazy horror filmmaking is just using jump scares over and over. There are a couple of jump scares in this, and there's nothing wrong with jump scares, but when you solely depend on those, then you get into trouble. Now, earlier I talked about the real story versus the Hollywood story, and they actually do address that, because the real life Janet Hodgson had been accused of, you know, faking some of the incidents, and she actually admits that in this movie. You know, they address that, and I like that they did that. Also, I really like the use of lighting, the cinematography in this movie. It is perfect for a horror setting. For the first like half of this movie, I was on edge. I'm not gonna lie. Being on edge and being scared are two different things, but being on edge is a good thing in a horror movie. I was really tense, you know, because I never knew what was gonna pop out, and there were a lot of incidents where, you know, you were waiting for something to happen and nothing would happen, and vice versa. And I thought that was very effective. Again, that is what a good horror director does. He keeps the audience on edge constantly. Now, as far as any cons for The Conjuring, I don't think it's as good as the first one. There are a few lulls here and there in the story. I think it could have been maybe chopped down a little bit and tightened up a bit. And also, I'm not sure how it's gonna be on the second watch, because now that I know everything that happens, I'll probably check it out again, but I would definitely watch the first one more. I think the first one has more replay value. So for that, I would definitely give it high Humdrum though. It's close to a purchase worthy. If you're a true horror fan, especially of like paranormal and ghost type horror movies, then I would definitely give it a purchase worthy. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit of spoiler talk, because there's a few things that I wanted to address about this movie. Really, the third act and the whole nun story was something that didn't happen in the real story at all, at least as far as my research led me to believe. In the movie, the Wilkins ghost was really a pawn for a more sinister entity, being the nun. And the ultimate end game of that entity was to kill Janet. And this is something that never happened in real life. And that's fine. Like I said, this is a Hollywood movie. You can do that. And I see why they did that, because you had to have some kind of, climax or closure to the movie. But to be honest, I was actually more on edge with the real events, the first half of the movie, than I was in the third act, and I think that's why my rating went a little lower. And to be honest, everything that happened in the first movie felt like more of a natural progression, whereas in this movie, that whole aspect really kind of felt shoehorned in. So anyway, guys, that is my discussion for The Conjuring 2. What were your thoughts on this movie? Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, and Drumdum out.